Welcome to The Actor's Choice, where the actors have a chance to talk about themselves and their careers. Join us now for the next hour as we explore the marvelous industry of acting through actors and actresses from today's exciting show business world. And now, here's your host, Ron Brewington.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Brewington, and welcome to The Actor's Choice. Good Monday for you. Our guest today is an award-winning producer. He's also written and directed 9 plays. He's also developed what is now known as a web fest. It should be interesting to hear what he has to say about that. And he's also well-known, well-known and respected throughout the Hollywood community. Ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure to welcome my dear, dear friend, Michael Ajakwe, Jr. Michael, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Happy New Year, brother.
Thank you.
Happy 2016.
Something like that. I haven't seen you since last year.
Yes, since last year, right. Yeah, exactly.
And I want to thank Mike for coming in. We had a little problem where the guest who was supposed to come in today couldn't make it because she had to do an audition. And, of course, in this business, when you got to do an audition, you got to do an audition. And I called Mike, and without even blinking, you can see he's here today. And I want to seriously thank you.
Well, that has a lot to do with who you are, man, because you and I go way back.
Yes, we do go way back.
We go way back over 20 years, over 25 years.
But who's counting?
And you've always been a stand-up guy. You've always been a very giving person. So when somebody is very giving, and they rarely ask anything of you, when they do ask of you, to me, you're supposed to come through.
Thank you, sir.
I dropped what I was doing.
Thank you, sir.
And I said, I got to be here for Ron. Because Ron called me. You don't have to call me twice.
Hey, I hear you.
Because it's Ron Brewington.
There's always 2 things. Every time I see Mike, I always ask him 2 questions. Number 1, how's your mother?
She's great.
And how's your brother doing?
Brother's good. My brothers are fine. My
All
sister's
right.
fine.
Always a pleasure.
Everybody's good. God bless.
Indeed. Michael, first of all, tell us a little bit about where you come from and where you grew up at.
Well, I'm from Los Angeles. I grew up in L.A. My parents are from Africa. My parents are from Nigeria. They came during the 60s. In the 50s and 60s, a lot of Africans were coming over from Nigeria, from Ghana, to get an education, just go back home. So my dad, whose father was a well-to-do native doctor, uneducated, wasn't a Christian. He was a native doctor in Nigeria. He made a lot of money. My dad had a house before he was 21. My father sold his house and used the money to go to school, become an engineer, and my mom had just married this young lady. My mom was about 19-something years old, 18, and he came first, and then 2 years later he brought over my mother. He came in 61, my mother came in 62, and he came in 60. She came in 62, and then he finished his education, and they were going to go back to Nigeria, and then the Civil War broke out, the Biafran War broke out. And so it was the Igbos and Yorubas versus the House of the Tribes, and it was really bad. And so my parents stayed here. And because they stayed here, my sister was born, I was born, my brother Robert was born, and my baby brother Reggie was born. So, they always used to tell us, don't get too comfortable here in America. You were supposed to be born in Nigeria. So that's how we wound up being born here. I was born here. So then after the war, the eastern part of Nigeria was leveled. It was destroyed. My grandfather was killed. My mother's father was killed during the war. Their house was destroyed. There was nothing to go back to, so they stayed here, worked. My mother had now gone to school, gone to high school, LA High School. Then she went to Cal State Long Beach, and then my mother became a nurse, registered nurse, and they were making money and sending it back home to help the family. And meanwhile, we were being raised out here because my mother came here with a 6th grade education because they didn't believe in educating girls back then, because you're going to just marry somebody and then you become you're with your husband. That's for his family. So why are we going to educate you, send you to high school and college when that's going to go to your husband's family? So my mother then came here, went to high school, went to college, and really made a lot out of herself. Yes. She might not have an education had she not stayed. So that's how. And then so that's how I wound up here, and that growing up in Los Angeles in the 70s and in the 70s really.
And you got some early education here in college here in town.
Yeah, I went to school here. I went to Century Park Elementary School in Inglewood. Yes. I went to Morningside High School in Inglewood.
Okay.
I went to St. Eugene's Junior High School, and also in Inglewood. And then I got a scholarship at Morningside. I was very blessed. I got a scholarship to attend the University of Redlands. I'd never heard of the school, but they gave me a scholarship to go there, academic scholarship, and I was there for 4 years. It was a beautiful school, and out there in San Bernardino County near Riverside and Beaumont, and 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 my brothers also, I was able to get my brothers who were in Nigeria, my brother Bobby, my brother Reggie, they also wanted to go to that school. So that school educated all three brothers.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, great
Ouch.
school.
I understand it was a very unique way that helped you get through college that you got involved with. Something that you were doing some movie work and doing some other work as you tells me this.
You talking about the hustling I was doing?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I wasn't hustling. No, in college, what happened in college is I was going to be a lawyer. That was
Okay.
what I wanted to do because I've
Okay.
always been good in history and civics. Just always had a knack for that kind of stuff. You know, I can argue.
Right.
I can fight. You know,
Yes.
but I always was good at writing. Since I was a child, I would get compliments on my writing, and people would accuse me of plagiarizing stuff when I was in elementary school. But you don't think to yourself, "Hey, this might be a gift. This might be a talent." You just
Yes.
think, "Why are they accusing me of this?"
Yes.
And
Jealous?
when I was living in Nigeria, at one point, my parents, after being here 20 years, my parents sold everything, sold their house, and moved us back to Africa. You know how they say, "Take your ass back to Africa."
Yeah.
Well, they did. They took us back to Africa, especially after Roots came out. When Roots came out and all these African Americans were trying to reconnect with their roots and
Yes.
where do I come from, you know, beyond slavery. We knew where we came from. My parents, well, we know your lineage. You just don't know because you were born here. You guys don't know because you were born here. So my mother convinced my dad to sell the house and give everything up and let's move back there and try to help our country, which was the original reason they came to America. They didn't come to live here. They came to come here, get skills and education, go back and make Nigeria a better place. So I was 14 at the time. One brother was 11. My other brother was 4. My youngest, who you know, Reggie, and my sister was a little older than us. So they moved us all back, and I wound up living there for 2 years. I was in the 9th grade. I went to Morningside High School in 9th grade, then went back there and got the shock of my life. People have a perception of Africans as being, you know, running around half naked and illiterate, can't speak. These Africans was kicking my butt.
Yeah.
They were so smart. They knew English better than I did.
Oh, yeah.
They knew I couldn't even compete with them in science. It was like being in college, taking 11 classes a week. It was ridiculous. And I was an honor student when I left here. I was a B student, but I really felt. I just didn't feel very intelligent at all. But the good thing about that 2 years I was there, 2.5 years, is that it really helped me because when I came back to America, I was ready. Like I came back and attended Morningside as a senior. I was here as a freshman. I came back as a senior, and I was ready. I had to make up. I was ready to go. And when I went to college, it was easy because it was like being in college in high school in Nigeria. It was like being in college when I was in high school. So college was a piece of cake for me. But yeah, when I was in college, I did an internship. At the time, 2 of the guys from my school had created a show called Cheers, Glenn and Les Charles, and they allowed me to be an intern on their show. And I learned what TV writing was about. I didn't know that they had writers. I thought these actors made up their own lines. I didn't know there were writers that wrote scripts, and I didn't know, and I'd never seen a black one. And it really exposed me to television writing. And so I was majoring in political science for law school, but I also double majored in English. And thanks to a mentor of mine in college, Professor Bruce McAllister, who's a good friend of mine, who saw something in me as a freshman. Because what happened is they give you a test to get in there's a test you take when you apply to colleges, and apparently I scored really high on the English test. I scored so high that I didn't have to take any English classes at all in college. And I think they told me 11 or 12 people tested out of English out of 400 people. And I was the only African American, only black guy. So my professor really like, who's this brother? They're so good in English. And so Professor McAllister mentored me. He wasn't easy on me. He was real tough on me. He said, if you want to do this for a living, okay, because that's what he does for a living.
Right.
And it really helped shape me and prepare me to be a professional once I got out of school. And the internship on Cheers really helped. And then I got in the entertainment industry and began. Started at the bottom as an assistant, worked for Entertainment Tonight as a graveyard runner. They called me a night operations supervisor. But Ron, there was nobody to supervise at 10, 11 o'clock at night. Everybody was gone. Out of the whole opera, I was the only one. I was supervising myself. Running around L.A., getting donuts and groceries, getting newspapers. This before the internet. You know, you had to go get the food and pass it out and do all the mail and then put together like a list of what's happening around Hollywood before everybody shows up at 5 a.m. But I did it for 6 months and then got on the day shift thanks to a friend of mine, Guy Rozier, big guy, give him a shout out, who Mike Rozier's brother, the Heisman Trophy winner from '82. And Guy and I worked together, and Guy helped me. He was going to go work for Eddie Murphy, and he told me about his job that was open, and I was able to get on the day shift as basically a runner, PA. And that was the beginning. And then eventually at Entertainment Tonight, which I didn't plan to be there. I didn't know why I was there. I said, what am I doing here? I want to be a writer, TV writer. This is not. But Entertainment Tonight was the best. In the end, it was the best training ground I had because I became a producer. That's how we met at Entertainment Tonight. After being there, how long? 2 years. Became a producer and started producing segments on a lot of African Americans. Because back then, people don't. Now you have all these shows, TMZ, and you have so many shows dealing with entertainment. OK TV. Back then, it was just Entertainment Tonight.
That's all you had.
The only show in town. Right. So if you got on, it was hard getting on that show.
Yes.
And so I targeted African Americans, especially young people, the young groups, because they weren't doing New Edition. They weren't doing Bobby Brown and Jody Watley and those people that were hot at the time. Mm-hmm. They were only doing Michael Jackson and Prince. You had to be a superstar to be in Entertainment Tonight if you were black.
Yeah. And
so I targeted the mid-level people. And that was my end. Jim Brown was the first story I did, Life After Football, after the Super Bowl. Jim Brown and O.J. Simpson and Joe Namath and those guys, and that was my end. But it wasn't easy. I mean, I was pitching stories to them for months, like 3 months. They were like, no, 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 hell no, 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 no. And I said to myself, I never forget, I said, okay, I got 5 ideas. I'm going to pitch these 5. If they say no, the hell with them. I'm not pitching no more stories. I'm going to get another job. They were like, no, 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 no. I was leaving. Wait a minute. Maybe that one. And the guy showed me how to take that and shape it and make it work. And so that became my first story. And then once I got the first one, and I was able to get, and I was doing this, Ron, for free. I was working my regular job doing this for free. I learned how to edit. I got in the edit bay. I'd be in the edit bay for 10 hours when I should have been there 3 hours. They were so nice to me. The editors were so nice, patient with me. I'm doing this after hours for free to build my resume as I did it for 13 months. Whew. They aired every story, and then they gave me a shot to do it full time, and then that worked out, and then they made me a producer. It took a year and a half.
Yes.
But that's why a lot of time with young people I talk to who want to get into business, I'm like, how bad do you want to get in business?
Right.
I'm not saying you got to sell your body, you got to turn tricks or anything like that, but what are you willing to give up?
Right.
Parties, fun, are you willing to work basically like 2 jobs to get the experience so you can get that job that you really want? Mm-hmm. It takes a lot, especially if you think you're smart.
Right.
I think if you think you're smart, it's harder because you know you're intelligent, and you've always been like, okay, if I do this, I get this. If I do this, I get this.
Right.
But you know how it is with paying your dues. You can do this and this and this and not get that.
That's right.
You keep doing this, it might take you a couple years.
That's right.
And for me, I had to do it for 13 months, and then another 6 months, and then they finally made me a producer.
It was the attitude that you had. Your attitude determined everything for you.
Oh, yeah, maybe. I think my attitude was there, and I give God a lot of credit.
Amen.
Because I know a lot of people around that work hard and they don't always get what they put in.
Gotcha.
And I don't understand. I don't understand that. Sometimes, I think God has to, if you believe in God, and I do, favor you. God really looked out for me and favored me. I had some rough times. I mean, I'm leaving out the bad parts. I just feel because we don't have all that time.
Right.
But Entertainment Tonight was a great lesson. It was a job that I'm like, God, why am I here?
Yeah.
And now looking back, I'm like, thank you, God, for letting me be here and learn the business on a systemic level, how the whole industry works. I was dealing with TV, film, theater, music, everything, because it was Entertainment Tonight. And it was how I got started. That's how we met.
Right.
My last story at Entertainment Tonight was on Marvin Gaye starring the Walk of Fame, which you pretty much single-handedly produced, Ron. Somebody told me to call Ron Brewington. He knows everything about Marvin Gaye. I called Ron Brewington. Ron Brewington puts me in touch with Barry Gordy's people, Smokey Robinson's people, Marvin Gaye's brother, Frankie, the late Frankie Gaye, Marvin Gaye's sister.
Yeah,
I said, Ron Brewington produced that piece. And yet, Ron and I, here's the amazing part, people are going to find it hard to believe. Ron did all of this sight unseen. We never met.
No, we never did.
Ron and I, this was in 1989.
Yeah.
1990. Ron and I would not physically meet for 12 years. For 12 years.
I knew your name, but that was...
And I never forgot yours.
Yeah.
So...
We'll talk about Marvin a little later in the show because we got
Sure.
that's one of the shows that you played, one of those many plays that you did. That was one I think was one of the greatest plays you ever did. You did a lot of work.
Thank you.
You were working in different mediums, as you say.
Mm-hmm.
You even had a job working with L.A. City Council President Eric Garcetti and former L.A. Police Chief Bernard Parks, and you were doing some special live event shows.
Yeah, I know people wonder, how did you wind up working with Eric Garcetti, who's now the mayor?
Yes.
And Bernard Parks, and what's the comedian? Brent Stiller.
Brent Stiller, yes.
Jason Alexander. Well, I did it because I used to write the NAACP Image Award, Theater Awards. I was a writer. I wrote it for 5 years.
Yes.
So there's always a part of the show where somebody prominent in the community is given an award. Like Ben Stiller gave an award to the brother who wrote Jelly's Last Jam, the great director, theater director, who wrote Jelly's Last Jam. How can I not remember this brother is legendary on Broadway. He's done, but that's one of his. But he's done several. I can't remember his name. And so I wrote his speech, and I got to work with Ben Stiller, you know. And then Jason Alexander gave an award to someone, and I wrote his speech, met him, worked with him. Mayor Garcetti, who was City Councilman Garcetti, and Bernard Parks were presenting an award together. They were presenting something to someone together, and I wrote there. So I spoke to Eric Garcetti, and I didn't know he used to be an actor.
Yes.
I didn't know he was an actor, and I heard his dad when I was growing up, Gil Garcetti, you know, because I grew up in L.A. And then I dealt with Bernard Parks, and mainly through his son. And then at the actual event, when we were working together, and they're about to give their speech, Bernard Parks, Mr. Parks, forgot his glasses, so he couldn't read the teleprompter. So Eric Garcetti did his speech. Mr. Parks wasn't able to do his because they couldn't find his glasses. So Eric Garcetti, to his credit, Eric Garcetti stood there with Mr. Parks and helped. Basically, they almost did like a Abbott and Costello.
Oh, okay.
Where he pretty much read it
for him.
Read it, and then he would read the lines, and then Mr. Parks would read it out. It was hilarious. It was better. People thought we made it up. We didn't make it up. It was totally original.
Wow.
But I was really impressed with Mr. Garcetti's improv skills. I said, yeah, he used to be an actor because he improv that one. So yeah, that's my experience working with that. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun.
Good man. I sure miss Bernie Parks.
He's a very good man. Yeah, I've gotten to know him afterwards through Judy Pace and Beverly Todd, the Friends 3 that we go to, those all cultural events, and he's a very, very good man.
Yes, indeed.
He and his wife.
When you're doing a live event show like that, what's the secret? How do you put it on? First of all.
Well, in terms of that kind of thing for television, it's tough. I mean, live shows are tough. You got to be ready for anything because things change. Sometimes people trip. Presenters change. Presenters will act up. You just have to be ready for anything and be fluid.
Yeah.
And I kind of learned that work for Entertainment Tonight. I've learned that work with the Theater Awards. And also, I learned that from doing theater. I like things I don't like surprises. That's why but anytime you're doing something live, you got to be prepared for the unexpected. Yes. And don't let it shake you. Don't let it because a lot of times the audience doesn't know. Right. You're like going crazy. Oh my God! He forgot his line. The audience don't know. The audience most time doesn't know.
They think it's on the script.
They think or they don't even notice it.
Good.
So I had to learn that hard way because I used to lose my mind, but I don't anymore. So I just kind of with a live show, you go with the flow.
When I read your resume, I've known you all these years, and when I read your resume, there were things on your resume I didn't even know you did. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. You did some TV projects with people like Russell Simmons, Dr. Dre, Brett Ratner, Kim Fields, Reuben Cannon, Beverly Todd, the late Natalie Cole, and many, many other folks you worked with.
I've written a lot of projects one-on-one with people. Early in my career, I met Stan Lathan, the great TV director. Mentor to many people, including Russell Simmons. I wrote a script that the late George Jackson and Doug McHenry, who did New Jack City, they read a script of mine. They got the script to Stan Lathan. Stan liked it. They were trying to make the movie, but then they wound up doing New Jack City. But then Stan introduced me to Beverly Todd, and then Beverly and I started developing TV project synopsises for her, and then she introduced me to Dionne Warwick. Met with Whoopi Goldberg's people, Gladys Knight's people, and it's a referral thing, that kind of thing. Reuben Cannon I met at Paramount Studios when I first got on the lot. I was 21 years old. I'd read about him in Black Enterprise. He was mentoring an unknown TV host named Oprah Winfrey. At the time, nobody knew who she was. She was in Chicago. She had a local show. I read about him in college a year earlier. I was on the lot at night. On the way home, I saw this man. I swear this is a true story. I saw this man about 100 yards away. I said, man, that dude looked like Reuben Cannon from the magazine I saw. I knew he worked on the lot. He was producing and casting a show called Amen with Sherman Hemsley. So I yelled across the lot, like my little ghetto self, Reuben Cannon! And he turned and looked and he said, yes. And he actually walked over to me. And I walked towards him and I said, man, I read about you when I was in school. I just got out of college. I'm 21 years old. My name is Michael Ajakwe. I work for Entertainment Tonight. I'm a runner, but I want to be a writer. And Reuben, to his, I look back now and say to his, this is a good man. Ruben took me under his wing and mentored me the same way he was mentoring Oprah. Gave me writing assignments, and I meet with Ruben every week at 10 a.m., like Monday or Tuesday. And I would wait. Sometimes sometimes I'd have to wait. But and that's when Monica Swan was working for him. Robbie Reed was working for him. He had all these people who were big casting. They all worked for Ruben because he was the first big casting director.
Yes.
But this man didn't know me. He did not know me. And then later on, Ruben became friends with a dear friend of mine, late Tina Allen, the late artist Tina Allen, who was a very close friend of mine, who I did a story for Entertainment Tonight, and introduced her to the mainstream. And they became good friends, their families. And then Ruben and I met his wife, Linda. And through Ruben and Linda, they said, hey, Natalie Cole is a friend of ours. She's looking to develop a TV show. We thought about you. You want to work with her? So that's how I met Natalie Cole. Went to her house, and several times she was the sweetest lady, very down to earth. We developed the show. We all went to NBC with the show. They didn't buy it, but it was a great experience. Russell Simmons, I met through Stan, because Stan mentored Russell Simmons. That was his Reuben Cannon. Was Stan Lathan, and then I wrote a movie for Russell. It never got made. I wrote the movie for Russell. It was the first thing I really got paid on. I was gonna do it for no money. Stan was like, "Man, Russell got money. Charge him, man." I said, "How much?" I didn't know. I was 22 years old. I didn't know what I was doing, and Russell, back then, he wasn't the Russell you see now. He's into yoga. Russell Simmons is so refined. He's rich. I mean, back then he had money. He was rolling back then. But he would wear sweatsuits. I was in dinner with Russell Simmons and Stan Lathan. We were at dinner at a big restaurant in Hollywood, and Russell was in a sweatsuit. And I swear every other word was MF, N-word, 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 N-word. Because he was very raw. He was still young, but he was himself. He was always, so I've seen the evolution of Russell Simmons. He's really evolved, and I have a lot of respect for Russell. And then later on, I did the first story at Entertainment Tonight on the history of rap, and I interviewed Russell, LL Cool J, and those guys. But Russell paid me and was a good guy, and we had conference calls from New York when he was in LA. We'd meet. I met Andre Harrell through him, and so Stan Lathan has been a very good mentor to me. And Brett Ratner, I wrote a movie on the founding of the Crip Street Gang. I wrote a movie for Artists and Pictures on Michael Concepcion. You know Michael? Have you heard of Michael?
Yes.
Yeah, Michael is one of the founders of the Crips. Incredible personality, great story, great guy. We spent 18 months together developing his life story for Artists, and the movie, unfortunately, was put in a turnaround when Lionsgate bought Artists, but it was a great experience. We became friends, Mike and I, and Brett Ratner's company and Russell. Now here, Russell and I reunited. They were on board as producers. So that's how I met Brett Ratner and was working with his company, Rat Entertainment, for Mike's story. This was about 15 years ago.
Wow.
And so yeah, I mean, you meet people along the way. I do Kim Fields. I wrote a movie for Kim Fields after she finished college at Pepperdine. She did a thesis, and I developed it into a movie. We didn't sell the movie, unfortunately, but we did. I spent 18 months with Kim Fields, and we became friends right before Living Single. And that little gap between Facts of Life and Living Single.
Wow.
So I've been blessed. I work with a lot of. I'm like Forrest Gump in my career. There's people I've met who, some people are unknowns, nobodies. For example, I was doing my first play, and a young man walked in off the street at night. We were about to leave. Young man walks in on the street, just got out of law school. Said, "Hey, you guys still I came here for a part I read about. Is it still available?" I said, "Man, we're cast. We're all done." He said, "Oh, there's nothing available." I said, "Well, we have understudy. You want to be understudy?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Read there." We read outside, right outside at Rogers Park in Inglewood. That's what I did on Beach. That's my first part. I started in L.A. I started in my community. I didn't start in Hollywood. I started locally and then came out. And that actor was Hill Harper. Everybody know Hill Harper is now, right?
Yes.
Right. He assigned New York and a bunch of other shows and movies. He's in Concussion. The same play. This is a true story. The same play. A girl walks in one day and says, "Hey, I heard y'all casting for a play. Do you have any more openings?" The girl was carrying a baby. I said, "Well, no, we already cast." No, she didn't know. She didn't ask for the part as an actor. She said, I just want to be involved. Is there anything I can do?" She offered her services. I said, "Well, can you stage manage?" See, I did in high school. She was like, just out of, maybe 3 years out of high school. She just had a baby. I said, "Okay, you can come on, let me, help me on my stage manager." She's helped me out as my stage manager. And then at some point in the production, one of our actresses Her brother got killed, unfortunately, was murdered. And so the actress was devastated that she wasn't able to come. And I couldn't get mad at her because she was dealing with, I need her because she's my star. But I also understand that she's dealing with a tragedy in her family. Yes. But meanwhile, we got all these actors here and the girl doesn't show up. So I remember saying, this is a true story. I wish I wish somebody was here that knew her lines so we could at least rehearse. And the young lady who's the stage manager says, raised her hand and said, Mike, I know the lines. I said, really? You know the line? You an actor? She said, well, I did some acting in high school. I said, well, get on up there. Let's just work this. The girl gets up there and tears it up. When she finished that scene, we were like, everybody that was there was like, so she came back to get the clipboard from me because she's my stage. I said, oh, no, you're not a stage manager no more. You're fired. You're in the show. You're this girl's understudy. And there was a guy, a friend of mine, who was really not a very good actor, but he was good in production. I said, Tony, you're a terrible actor, but you're good in production. Why don't you fired in that role? Come be my stage manager.
All right.
And he became my stage manager. She got in the show. She ripped it up. We worked together for that play called Reasons. It wound up running for 9 months throughout L.A. Rogers Park, the Wilshire Ebell, the Grand Theater, Trade Tech. We worked that from a $300 investment.
Wow.
Well, that actress, you know who she was?
No.
Niecy Nash.
Oh my gosh.
It's a true story.
Wow.
That's Niecy.
Wow.
Niecy Nash.
Wow.
Niecy Nash.
Wow.
Oh yeah, we go way back. So you can find what I've learned in Hollywood, Ron. You can find greatness anywhere. You really can. It ain't about you got to go to this school or you got to be from here or you got to have these degrees. A great person, especially a raw talent, could be in your neighborhood.
That's right.
Could be in a bad family, could be in the hood, whatever. But maybe somebody didn't encourage him or push her, or maybe they just haven't realized, hey, you have a gift. You need to refine that gift, and because you can go somewhere with it. You ain't like everybody else. Right. God, you know, and so I remind people, Jesus wasn't born in Beverly Hills.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't born in the high-rent district. He was born in a manger. Yeah. He was born in the ghetto. Yeah. So I remind people, and because I've seen it, that's just two people. I worked with a guy when I was on Martin as a writer. We had a black bodyguard. Martin, he's very Afrocentric, great brother, Martin Lawrence, good brother, really great role model for me, even though we're the same age. And I knew Martin before he was famous. And then I wound up working for Martin as a writer. But Martin Lawrence, very conscious about who works for him and trying to give African Americans opportunities. And so he had an all-black bodyguard company that was at the show, and they all wanted to be actors. There's one guy in particular. He was cool. They all were cool. But I gave, Bentley Evans, who did Jamie Foxx show, gave the guy his first job. Martin gave him a job on the show. I gave him a job when I was on the show. I called. We needed a big guy. Tiny Lister wasn't available. I said, hey, I know a guy that's bigger than Tiny. He's never acted. He doesn't really have any credits, but I think he could do the job. So they called him, and he got the job. And the show got canceled. When we're filming, the show got canceled. The guy came and sat next to me. He was almost in tears. Said, oh, my God, Michael, I can't believe it. This is my big break. And the show got canceled. It was an NBC show with Paul Winfield called Built to Last. And Roy L. Watkins, good brother also. I said, don't worry, brother. I said, you're going to work again. I really didn't know if he'd work again or not because he's over 40. He's 6'6" or whatever. He's a big dude. How many roles? He worked again. In fact, a year later, this is a true story. A year and a half later, this same brother was nominated for an Oscar.
What's his name?
Michael Clark Duncan. And that movie was The Green Mile. It's a true story. I'm not making this up, people. If you're watching the show, I'm not making this. Is a true story. Michael Clark Duncan was a bodyguard on the Martin show. If you came to see Martin during the time it was on the air, Martin knew his fans were crazy before everybody else. So you had to go through a metal. When you got in, you had to go through a metal detector to come in. And somebody had a wand and they wand you. Well, guess what? Michael was the one that wanded you. You just didn't know that was him. But yeah, Mike worked for it. He was a bodyguard. So that's just I got more stories. I know about more people that hit, and you never knew they were going to hit. But that's how it is. That's life, and that's the business. And so that's why to me you treat everybody with respect. I don't care who they are, because some people they'll treat you with respect. If they know, you Mike Ajakwe, you worked on this. Oh, I got to be nice to him. I got to be cool. But that person, if I walk out that room, I've seen people do this, and if somebody else come, they don't know. Or somebody's doing the custodian or whatever, they treat him like dirt. Yeah. Or they talk down to him. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do, because you don't know who that brother is. You don't know what his dreams are.
That's right.
And he could be emptying your trash today, and you could be driving his car tomorrow.
That's right.
For him. You don't know. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Wow. Now, you've done 9 plays, and one of those plays you wrote and directed back in 2002. It was called Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell Love Story. Can you just show what takes a little bit about? We got a video you want to show to the folks.
Oh, sure.
You want to see the video first? Or you want to tell us about it?
Let me start with talking about theater first of all, real quick.
Okay.
The power of theater. Hollywood is like a country club. It's hard to break in, and when you get in, it's hard to move around. The smartest people get out of the business.
Okay.
Only the crazy people and stubborn, hard-headed people stick around and think they can do something here, because it'll break you. I always tell you, somebody told me, Jim Brown told me. Jim Brown, the great Jim Brown, who I became friends with after I did a story on him. I was going through some struggles at Entertainment Tonight, and I was ready to quit. And Jim gave me some of the best advice anybody's ever given me. He said, Mike, I can't tell you what to do, but I will tell you that in this business, in this life, people, they don't want to kill you. They just want to break you. Don't let him break you. Great. Some of the best advice I've ever. That's from Jim Brown. This is before, you guys know him as an activist. He was still acting back then. In fact, the first story ever done on American, I did it. It was not called American back then. It was called Vital Issues. I did a story on Jim on Life After Football. I wound up doing 4 stories on Jim. The last story I did on Jim was about him working with these prisoners. We went, me, Jim Brown, Fred Dreyer, Reggie Jackson, James Caan, went to a women's prison in Frontera for a whole day. And actually James Caan had a motorcycle accident. He didn't make it, but we went to his house later. James Caan from The Godfather, Sonny Corleone, because he's a good friend of Jim's. And I got to know Jim, and Jim Brown is a big influence on my life. He's a great man, and again, giving back, like Stan Lathan, like Russell Simmons, a person that mentors, Reuben Cannon, gives back. So I'm standing on the shoulders of legends and giants. So you know what I'm saying? There's nothing special about me. These guys looked out for me, so I try to look out. But theater,
he doesn't have a star, you know that.
And he should. Yeah, Jim, he will. Jim will. He's a great man. I don't mean, and no one's perfect. Everybody's got their controversy, but I know Jim. He's a great man. He's always been a good friend to me.
Okay. Marvin Gaye.
Marvin Gaye. So the theater thing came about because of, I was saying the business is really hard. Theater, believe it or not, even though I was working in show business, I was frustrated because it was hard to move up and get a writing job or whatever. I started doing plays at Rogers Park in Inglewood in the hood for no money while I'm working in the business. I'm a producer in the business doing free plays on the weekend. And it was a play that got a play I wrote called Reasons, a play that Hill Harper and Niecy Nash were in, that was supposed to run for 2 weeks and ran for 9 months all over LA. Started with $300, made $100,000. That play got to HBO through an agent, and the HBO hired me on Martin. And and then I did another play called Company Policy that won the NAACP Image Award in '94. I won Best Playwright that year. But this stuff I was doing with my own money on my own. And I started realizing that you can't just sit around, even if you're talented, waiting for other people to do stuff for you. You got to do it yourself. Marvin Gaye, you and I, it's so funny. You tie into Marvin Gaye because I did my last story for Entertainment. The last story I did before I left Entertainment Tonight, went to work for E! Entertainment when it was starting, was on Marvin Gaye starring the Walk of Fame. And you helped me. You really must produce that yourself. But I read the book. You introduced me to David Ritz. I interviewed him. He gave me the book. I read his book, Divided Soul, and I never forgot that book. And I always thought that was the most thing about Marvin Gaye I loved most was his relationship with Tammy Terrell. It's only a chapter, but it really captivated me. So I went. I would go to the mountains when I want to really get away and think. I would go to the mountains in San Bernardino, a place called Lake Gregory, and I would go up there by myself sometimes. A lot of times, I went up there for Christmas in 2001, and I don't know what happened, man. God inspired me.
He does that every
and
day.
I wrote this play about Marvin and Tammy. And then I came back and I pretty much produced stage reading of it because I knew at the time through you that it was very difficult to get licensed to Motown music. But I wanted you to play anyway. I didn't care about. One thing people got to realize about the business is you can't, to me, even if you know there's money in what you're trying to do as a producer, writer, actor, whatever, you can't do this for the money. If you do this for the money, you're wasting your time. You probably ain't gonna make no money, or you won't see it for a long time. I didn't see money for years, a decade. I went 10 years without seeing no money. 10 years. 8 years without seeing the money. I did the play, put up $5,000 of my own money to produce that live stage reading, let people come see it for free, which you saw. And so later when EMI, publicly, when they came after me and said, hey man, you doing this play. You didn't get no rights to Marvin and Tammy. We own the Motown. We co-own it with Berry Gordy. I was able to say, hey, I understand. No harm, no foul. I didn't make any money off of it. I spent money. I didn't profit. It was free. I just wanted to get my voice out because I knew everybody told me it would be impossible to license the music, but I felt like I had to get it out for myself. Right. I said, if anything, you guys made money because people left my play and went to this record store and they went and bought the music because it helps you out with record. I didn't make a dime. So EMI was cool. We worked it out. They said next time let us know. Okay, we're cool. No harm, no foul. They didn't sue me, and we're cool. We never cool. I was never able to get the rights, but I was able to do that play first at the old States 52 Playhouse for a weekend, sold out, and then we went to
including Britney Spears showed up.
Britney Spears showed up. People, Britney Spears. I walked her and her little sister. What's her little sister and mother? They showed up. People were shocked to see Britney Spears. This one, she was huge, Right. And then we took it to the Wish Reba because we couldn't. We filled that place up.
Yes, we did.
And it was a cathartic experience. Ashley Tamar Davis, who's in a lot of Tyler Perry stuff now. Yeah. People know her from Tyler Perry's plays. But that's where she started. She was still in college at USC. I found her in an audition. Again, I had an actress already, a friend of mine that was playing the lead who could sing. I heard Ashley open her mouth. I cast her as another role, Martha and the Vandellas. But her voice captivated me.
Yes.
And I was praying to God there was some way this girl could be the lead. And then my lead had to check out. She got a job and couldn't do it. This God, this ain't me. The lead couldn't do the show. So I was able to bring Ashley as the lead without offending my friend.
Right.
And that's how Ashley wound up playing Tammy Terrell.
Wow. And did a great job.
Yeah, and did a great job. And it was even though that's the one play I didn't make a dime off that play. It only ran 2 weekends, 6 shows. That is probably the most famous play I've ever of all my shows. That's the one everybody remembers the most. And for me, it is, except for my first show, it is the most special play. Yes. And that's God. I give it to God because He was guiding me, my hand in writing the play and everything. I give it credit. I know in Hollywood it sounds corny to believe in God because a lot of people believe in other stuff, but I don't care. I know who's been guiding me. I know who my force is. It's God.
How did you cast the gentleman who played Marvin Gaye?
William L. Johnson.
Yes.
I found him in an audition,
Yes.
and he looked a little like Marvin Gaye, and he came in acting like Marvin Gaye. And it was easy. And he's a good actor. William's a good actor. And he was committed. What I loved about that play, nobody got paid a dime, but they were so committed. And they're all great actors. And I can't wait to work with them again. To be in a position where I can just give them jobs myself. Wow. Which is what I'm always striving for, that independence and that authority where you can do it yourself. And you don't have to make them jump through hoops. Okay. I know what certain people can do. I don't need to see you do it again. And William is one of those guys. He's so talented. Yeah, Ashley's talented. They were all great. Cy Smith was in that show. Yes. Who's now a big artist working with Chris Bodie and doing her own thing. And so many great artists. So.
Okay. Let's take a look, LaRon, at the closing of the reading when William Johnson played Marvin Gaye and Ashley Tamar Davis played Tammy Terrell.
Tammy Terrell.
One look at you, and it was plain to see you were my destiny.
Arms open wide, I threw away my pride. I'll sacrifice for you, dedicate my life to you. When you leave,
come on, darling.
there is time.
Yeah, when I lose my will, you'll be there to put me up the hill.
There's no looking back.
So now that's enough. You're all need to get by. Oh, yeah. Tammy, listen. Like the eagle protects his nest. For you, I'll do my best. Stand by like a tree. And anybody don't try to move me.
Darling, in you I found strength when I was torn down. Don't know what's in store, but together we can open it.
after the reading, we had some reaction from members of the audience. The family, Marvin Gaye's family, was there at the play. And here you go.
He did a great job. He did a great job. And she was unbelievable. Unbelievable. You know, I thought I was really sitting there watching the Marvin and Tammy concert as they were singing. Yeah.
Mrs. Irene Gaye, widow of Frankie Gaye. Irene, you had a chance to see tonight's performance. What do you think?
Oh, it was wonderful. I thought it was very inspiring, and I think Frankie would have really enjoyed it. He'd have been proud of it.
I was really moved. I wasn't sure I was going to be, but I think Michael did a great job. I think he did a brave thing in taking on the subject, and I'm really proud of him.
It was absolutely marvelous, to say the least. The actors were phenomenal. The music was impeccably chosen and apropos for the play, and I think it's a great production, and look forward to seeing it go further.
I just saw Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell, The Love Story. It was a tremendous show, tremendous show. The music itself is worth coming to see the show, but when you see the story behind it, when you see that the love, that the love that they had was for real.
Definitely, I like that. And the writing was brilliant. The singing was on, and I love the casting. Everybody looked similar to the original characters.
You're a casting director. You know how to cast them. What do you think about the way this play was cast?
I think Pamela did an amazing job. I mean, she found some great talent. I know the voices were important, but not only could people sing, they could act. So, I mean, double threats. It was great.
I think Will is the reincarnation of Marvin Gaye. And the young lady singing Tammy Terrell, her voice was so full and so wonderful. And just the energy that came from the show, it was so tastefully done. You know, even in dealing with, difficult information, it was very tastefully done.
My name's Jim Evering. I really liked it. I'm a huge Marvin Gaye fan, so it was a great pleasure to see it. And Tammy sounded like Tammy to me.
Well, you know what? First of all, I am an artist, so I appreciate real art. I am Steph from Moken Steph, and I enjoyed this program. So as an artist, I can truly relate to the whole vibe and the chemistry, and they picked some very talented people to do this, to really capture that moment, And I learned some things about Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, so much love and much success to this program.
Yes, very educational. I think it's great for children, too, to come out and see what has been laid out beforehand, you know what I mean? So it was excellent. Everyone could enjoy it, everyone. Definitely a family show.
I mean, I thought the talent was incredible. I felt like I was looking at Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, and I didn't know that much about the story, but until tonight, and I felt the heart, I felt the pain, and the music. I mean, you can't say enough about the music.
Okay, man, that
brought back great memories, brother.
A lot of memories.
Hey, who was that guy interviewing those people? Who was the man doing the interviews, man?
After you'd done the play, you said, "Ron, go out there and get some reaction."
And did he get them? Ron did a great job. Thank you so much for helping me on that.
What is the limit to Michael Ajakwe Jr.?
Man, there are no limits. One of the reasons Hollywood, the industry tries to limit you if you're anybody. They want, if you're doing drama, do comedy, whatever. I've always not seen myself just as a comedy writer or drama. I've just seen myself as a writer. I do plays, I do television, I do films.
Right.
I'm working on a movie about Kurt Flood right now.
Right.
With his widow, Judy Pace, who's a dear friend of mine. I'm working on a movie on Doug Williams with Doug Williams himself, the first African-American quarterback to start and win a Super Bowl. And Kurt Flood, of course, is the father of free agency. All these players, LeBron and A-Rod, all these guys making millions of dollars. They're making that money because of the sacrifice of a great baseball player named Kurt Flood that most people don't know about.
They sure do.
And I want to tell his story. And we're going to get that story made. That story is going to be on the big screen. If they could make a movie called Birth of a Nation about Nat Turner, another one of my heroes, by the way. But I never thought it was possible to make a movie about Nat Turner.
Wow.
Even though he was an American hero, freedom fighter, I thought Hollywood would never let it get done because the people he was taking out were white folks.
Right. You see Nate Parker, $17.5 million.
$10 million. $100,000 of his own money, 7 years of his life.
Wow.
But he got it done. I'm very inspired by that. So we're working. Judy and I are working on doing Kurt Flood's story, the great Kurt Flood, and Doug Williams and I are going to get his story out because he's got a great story. So for me, there are no limits. I'm a writer. I tell stories in all mediums. I'm not a snob.
No.
Whatever
Oh, no.
medium works for the story is what I'm for. And I thank God, again, for giving me the ability to be able to work in all these different mediums successfully.
Los Angeles Web Series Festival.
LA Web Fest.
Come on.
LA Web Fest is a festival of shows made online, mostly by independent creators and producers. Web Series is a new phenomenon. It's been around for about 15 years. I got involved about 7 years ago. I was really fascinated by what people were doing at home, like homemade TV. Short shows, 3, 5, 10 minutes long. So about 2010, I started a festival called the LA Web Fest. I didn't have any money to do it, but I just wanted to showcase what people were doing. And the festival, I didn't know at the time, it was the first web series festival not just in the United States, in the entire world. There was no other web series. Now there's about 50, but in 2010, there was none. I was the first one, and I've helped a lot of festivals get started. The one in Marseille, France, that was the second one. I helped them get started. I've been to Marseille several times behind that. The one in Australia, one of my people that work for me, a sister, Ashley Thomas, she started that one with some other producers in Marseille, Starner Ellenson. That got started. Now she started one in Miami International Web Fest. The one in Rome, I support. Rome Web Fest is one of my partners. The one in Dublin, Ireland, I supported that guy who's now doing that festival in Ireland. There's one in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I supported that festival. That's one of my partners. I have partnerships all over the world. In Sicily, in Buenos Aires, I supported the guy in Buenos Aires Web Fest. But it all, we were the beginning. If you go to Wikipedia and look up web series, the first event ever in the world about web series was the LA Web Fest at little old Stage 52 in the hood, in LA. So again, you don't have to, it ain't, no one race or group has a domination on what has to be done. We just got to do it. I didn't have any money. I did it at a small theater that I knew. I give a lot of credit to Thomas Duckett, who was running that theater, who I went to Thomas and said, man, I think I want to do a little festival. He got a screen that comes out of the ceiling where I did my plays. Can we just use the screen and I'll give you some money afterward? He said, Mike, do whatever you want to do. Pay me later. And that's how we got going. And then from there, we were at Stage 52 for 2 years. And we got to the Radisson at LAX, big old Radisson. We did it there in 3 years. And then we went to Hilton Universal. Last year, the Hilton Universal, right by Universal Studios.
I was there.
You were there. And this year,
drum roll,
we're going to be, in April 22nd to the 24th, we're going to be at Warner Brothers Studios.
All right.
At Warner Brothers.
Yeah, all right.
Studios. So we've gone from Stage 52 to the industry, Warner. But there's never been a web series festival at a major Hollywood studio until now, until 2016, say LA Web Fest. We have creators from all over the United States, all over the world that show up. It's an international festival.
Yes.
And not only did I want to showcase these people, what I realized, and we and I were talking about this during the clip, that when you run something and own something, you can really have a big influence on it. I wanted to, like right now, there's a big Oscar is so white. The Oscars got flack for what they've done for the last 2 years, which is only nominate white Oscars for awards.
Yes.
And then you got the Oscars saying, "Hey, we're just trying to pick the best people. We don't see color." And then you got people of color saying, "Well, you don't see color. Well, how's it that everybody turned out white? Is that a coincidence?" I understand the frustration. I know what the people behind it, Will Smith, a great guy, by the way, Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, I commend them for speaking. Jim Brown would be so proud. People like Jim would be proud for them speaking up finally about something. When you're in control and you have a say-so in something, you can affect change. One thing I've always done with my festival is no one race is getting all the awards. The big thing at all these festivals is the award show. Who's going to win what? We have winners of all colors, of all genders. No one gender dominates. No one race dominates because it's a subjective decision anyway. If I see 10 shows and they're all good and I got to pick 5, they're all good. So if there are 10 shows here and 3 are by white guys and 2 are by black guys and one's by a woman and whatever, I have the luxury to pick let me get these 2 white guys, let me get these 2 brothers, this sister here, this transgender or LGBT person here, and let's reward them, these 5 people. Because they're all great, right? I can pick who I want to pick. And the same thing with Oscars. They don't have to pick those. They narrow it down to 20 people, But they've got a pool of 50 great people.
Right.
So they choose what they want to present to the world, and they choose to present it all white, and that's shame on them.
Did you see the SAG Awards this weekend?
I saw this. That's America.
Yes.
SAG Awards, that looked like America.
It sure did.
Not like what these Oscars.
What did he say? Welcome to diversity television.
Welcome, exactly. But some people, what I don't like about the industry, and I'm just it's no secret. They act like when you include people who aren't white, that you're lowering your standards, that you're somehow giving something away. You got this pie that there's enough to feed everybody, Ron. Sure. But so many times I've seen where one group, they're not black, they want the whole pie, and if they got to give even a slice, it's too much to give up. Oh no, you're taking that away from a white guy. Or white? No, you're not, because they're all how that pie is cut up, Ron, is subjective. Mm-hmm. It's not objective. No one took a test to get a piece of that pie. No one took an exam. There's no pop quiz to get that pie. It's subjective. I like this. We think he did good. We think, okay, good. We're going to give them pie. That's how it works. And most of the people making those decisions to have those jobs, they didn't get those jobs subject. They didn't take a test to get those jobs. They got those jobs because they knew somebody. They got those jobs because they was related to somebody, because their last name is the right last name, because they were sleeping with somebody or married to somebody. Or they'll never tell you. They'll never say, that's how I got this job. They'll act like, oh, I'm here because I'm qualified. Well, what is qualified? It's subjective.
Very subjective.
And Hollywood is subjective. And one thing history has shown, and our people have shown, through Motown, through Oprah Winfrey, through Dick Griffey and Solar Records, and so many other, Bob Johnson, Russell Simmons, and so many other African-American entrepreneurs, is that if you give a black person a chance, we're going to shine. All of us aren't going to shine. Just like all white people don't. A lot of white people fail. You just don't hear about them. Or they'll get second, third shots. But we can do it. There's no monopoly on talent.
No, it isn't.
Or creativity. You just got to give someone, like Viola Davis said, I love her. You just got to give someone an opportunity. Right. And so much of our business is about getting opportunities. And a lot of times we don't get those shots. Or if we get those shots are limited in scope in terms of the kind of shots that we get.
Right.
You know? So... we have to, I always keep that in mind. So with my festival, LA Web Fest, it's for everybody. No one comes to my festival feeling left out.
Right.
And I've had people complain, oh, I didn't win this. Well, people always complain about awards. They're subjective.
Right.
But no one race, you ain't going to see no situation where all the black people win everything. Okay. We don't do that.
Right.
When people leave, people that come from other countries, if your show is in subtitles, we watch your show in Spanish or in Italian or Korean or whatever language, we watch that show the same way we watch a show that's in English. And we look for the same merits. We don't hold it against you. I don't have a foreign language. There's no foreign language category. Right. If you got a Korean comedy, one of our partners is K Webfest. Young Man King is a great partner of ours. Brought the festival to Korea last year. There's a Korean Webfest now.
Right.
So everybody has a shot. And this comes from me. This comes from my experience working in Hollywood. Even though I come from TV and film, I could be a snob. I could say, well, I got mine. Hey, man, you get yours. I made it. I know I'm blessed. I know I'm talented, but I'm blessed and I'm fortunate. And I know a lot of people with as much or more talent than me that didn't get blessed, didn't get fortunate. Right. I'm not great. God is great. Right. So I know that the biggest thing that holds people back in Hollywood is opportunity. So one of the things I try to do with my festival is grant those opportunities. And if people don't like me for it, I don't care. Right. Because guess what? It's my festival. You don't like it? Go start your own festival and do it your way.
You give back the love you have. In 2008, you were invited to Africa for 3 weeks to teach screenwriting for workshops to the Nigerian filmmakers. Please tell us about it.
Man, that was a great experience. Because I've worked on a lot of sitcoms, Martin, Sister, The Brothers Garcia, Eve. Shout out to my girl Meg DeLoach, who has a new show called Here We Go Again that I write for this. That airs on TV One this Friday, debuts, called Here We Go Again, executive produced by Meg DeLoach, the great Meg DeLoach, great friend of mine. And then some of the other sitcoms I've worked on. What was the question?
The question is about
I went off story.
Nigeria.
Oh, then a lot of these shows air in Africa, so they see my name and they know that my last name is an African name, it's an Igbo name, comes out of Nigeria, and so I was invited to come. It was a great experience to go to Abuja to Bob TV convention. And then also to go to, they didn't flew me to Lagos, said, can you address the Writers Guild of Nigeria? I brought screenplays and books, and I gave them to them for free. I spent $500 of my money and just gave it away. Because a lot of times they don't have the books. They have, Nollywood is the second or third biggest producer of films in the world.
Yes.
But they're still learning. It's still new. I'm so proud of what Nigeria is doing in film and television.
Because they were at the Savannah Theater last year.
Yeah.
Took over the whole place.
Yeah, I've spoken there.
Beautiful,
I've gone.
beautiful.
So it was great to go back home and do that. And and all they want to do is get better. All they want to do is compete with America and European films. So I'm proud of it, and it was a great experience for me.
How do you want to be remembered, Michael?
Man, I want to be remembered I want to be remembered as a guy with African parents who was accidentally born in America, who found out he had some talent. He couldn't play. He wanted to be a professional baseball player, a professional tennis player, but he didn't have enough talent. But somehow he had enough talent to become a professional writer. God blessed him to realize that dream, and he was able to not just work in one medium and be pigeonholed, but he was able to do various things. He was able to start an international festival and give more opportunities to other people. And he always, like you said, he got a lot and he gave a lot. And he was never a snob. He never looked down on people because of what they didn't have.
Well, Michael, thank you so much. We got much more we could have talked about.
Hey, brother, we could be here for 2 or 3 hours.
3 hours, 4 hours.
Thank you for having me, Ron. That's a pleasure. I'm
We got
honored.
to bring you back again. Got to bring you back
Anytime, Ron.
Thank you,
Anytime.
brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
So much. I mean, we're going to end this show by playing a little bit of Mr.
Close it out.
Close it out, please. Thank you, LeBron. Thank you. Yeah.
Hanging on the wall, but it can't see from me when I call your name. I realize it's just a picture in a frame.
A
little bit of Marvin, man. A little bit of Marvin.
And the way they did it was just so nice. Michael, again, we want to thank you very much for taking the time to come down today.
Thank you, man. I hope to see you at the LA Web Fest, April 22nd to the 24th at
you're gonna
Warner
see
Brothers
me
Studios.
there?
Go to www.lawebfest.com for more details. lawebfest.com, or join our Facebook page or our Twitter. Thank you so much.
Indeed. We went in and had a great time. LeBron, are we ready? I'm still ready. Okay. We want to show. You want to show a video before we get out
definitely. Yeah, another Marvin attack.
No, another Marvin.
We got a hot one coming up with that.
Which one?
Ain't No Mountain High Enough.
Ooh.
That thing got on you. I put it on YouTube, man.
Because you're going to do a biopic on Tammy.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to do that.
Yeah.
They're working on that right now.
That's what I'm talking
Somebody's
about.
working on that.
Somebody's working on it right now. Yes.
Yes. But it's our segment from the play is got almost. It's like the first or second most watched clip on YouTube of that song, that particular song. But no, I just feel, Ron. I just want to say again, thank you for everything you've done. You've always been a. You've always been a giver, man. And when people have given to you, I don't know how people can take from people and never give back. You've always given.
Amazing.
And so people like you have been inspiring. Reuben Cannon, like I said, and Jim Brown and so many other people, Tina Allen and other people who I know. I can't take and not want to give back. You want to give back. So, and which I think what you're doing with the show was fantastic. Because I was on your show when it was called The Actors Report, when you were doing that segment. Now this is your own show. And again, like I said about having your own production company, having your own web festival, when it's yours, you dictate the rules. Right? Because it's yours. And you can, so if there are some rules in the industry that you don't like, you can shape yours in a way that is different. And that's what I do with my festival and what I do when I'm producing something. And that's what you're doing with your show. So
we thank for that compliment. We thank you very much. It's all we can do. There's so many people that we know, that you know. Whenever I need to get a telephone number sometime, I'll call you. You'll say, Ron, try this number, try that number. We do what we have to do to keep the word out there and let people know what they're doing. How we doing, Brother Ron?
Almost. Well, the only reason why when you call me, I always respond is because when I call you, you've given so much. It's like you don't have to even ask me for anything.
Thank you, sir.
You have like a bank of favor with me because of how you've been since I've known you since 89.
This is 89. Yeah, been blessed, and I thank a lot of people for making it. Okay, we just got the high sign. Let's get on out of here with
close out
with some Marvin Gaye
and Tammy Terrell.
See you next
All
time.
I need to get by. The Marvin Gaye, Tammy Terrell story.
All right. 1, 2, 3.